maybe this is on us at this point. We keep thinking like eventually they're going to have that ninth inning comeback, right? Eventually they're going to do it. Like we post that stupid stat every day of like they're 0-56, they're 0-57, and now they're 0-59 when trailing after 8 innings. And Soto hits the homer. They get 2 on with 1 out, and you're thinking this is the time. I think Jolly Olive was saying on his Twitter, this is it. This is what's going to happen. And Marte hits into the game-ending double play. It's just like they can't break through in these moments still. And that's kind of what I want to transition to is it almost like our fault at this point? Like, is it time for us to stop expecting this team to be better because of their talent? Because for a long stretch now, they have not shown to be better than how they've played.
No, I think that's fair. And I think you talk about the fact that they haven't won any of those games. And then you look at, I know someone else was talking about, well, they have Lindor, they have Soto, they have Alonso, they have Nimmo, they have McNeil, all these good offensive players. How is it even possible that they haven't made any of those comebacks? And again, not to compare them to last year, but I think part of the reason why Mets fans thought they had a run in them last year is because the reverse of this, because that team was really good against good relievers last year. And they came back and won a ton of games. So, I mean, I'm sure that plays into the players' minds too. Like they have to know that they're in something. Maybe they don't know exactly what it is, but they know that they haven't been winning games late. Just like they know last year that they had been really good at winning those games late. So, I mean, they're big leaguers, but it's going to get in their head. They're also human, right? So, but to point to someone specifically, it feels like every time that the Mets have a rally and there's a chance for them to make a comeback, especially recently, it feels like Marte's up at the plate and just has a really bad at bat every single time. I know the last time he was in a spot like this, I think it was 3 straight pitches and he took all of them and struck out on 3 pitches. Yeah. And I guess you would have preferred that this time so that someone else got a chance, and Marte overall has been better, but it feels like something in his at-bats just goes completely out the window once he gets into these big spots. And obviously, I mean, they don't really have that lefty that they can pinch hit for him because Winker, it seemingly is never coming back. Mauricio just hasn't hit when he's had the opportunities really, and hasn't had any opportunities recently. And I guess so the only guy you really maybe doing that spot is Jared Young, who did come up with the home run the day before and has shown power in limited spots with the Mets. So I guess that's maybe something that Mendoza's got to find out over the next couple of weeks is if he can use Young more. Because they certainly need someone off the bench, specifically a lefty that they can use. And they do. They need someone late in games that they can use for that pinch hitting role. I think maybe that's kind of where we're getting to. I mean, how many games have we seen like Luis Torrens taking big at bats in the 8th, 9th inning when Mendoza probably should have used someone else? And I know we've talked about it on Twitter that they should have used someone else, but his options weren't very good for the players he could use.
Right. Yeah, there's a part of me that's just like really annoyed at the fact that this is one of the most expensive rosters ever assembled. And we're talking about Jared fucking Young in September of a pennant race. Not to mention a pitching staff, as you mentioned earlier, which is more rookies than not rookies at this point. And we'll get to this. Kodai Senga is in the minor leagues right now. That happened this week. And we will get to that. But it's frustrating. I feel like every one of these podcasts the last month has been just like talking about how frustrating the ups and downs are, but just like round and round we go, and it keeps going on. Just to kind of zoom out a little bit. After they lost on Sunday, they're 13-12 over the last 25 games. They're 4-4 in their last 8 series. So just like, yeah, they got themselves out of that tailspin that they were in, but they're really just kind of like going through the motions and like starts and stops, alternating at this point. They really haven't been able to put any sort of winning streak together or even like a good 2 weeks in a row. And if you want to go back even further, this honestly surprised me. I didn't think it would be this bad going back to this point in the season. But if you go back to April 31st, This team is 55-58.
Wow.
That is a long period of time of not playing good baseball. And it's just like, again, it's, there's that old cliche quote that we always use in sports of, when people tell you who they are, believe them. This might just be the Mets. And I think a lot of people are relying on, like, just wait till October. They're saving it for October. Somebody actually said that to me with the ninth inning comebacks today. And, like, maybe that's true because sometimes that happens. The 2022 Phillies are a good example of a team that played like crap in September. They got in, they turned it on. I just don't like relying on it. I would like to see some sort of evidence that this team is capable of playing well consecutively, and we just don't see that. We haven't seen it in a very long time, and it's just maybe they can't do it. Maybe there's something off about this group this year that we do not know about at this moment.
Yeah, and I think, to look at a couple of players specifically, for them to really play well consistently and to win a couple of playoff series, Sean Manaea, who's going to pitch next, he has to be better, essentially. He has to be more of the guy he was last year. And his strikeout to walk ratio is actually really good. So he's given up 8 home runs. So
right.
I think it's not as simple as cutting back on giving up home runs, but if he's able to keep the ball in the park more, I think he is one of the guys that I would be more confident in turning it around than, say, like a Ryan Helsley, who obviously the Mets traded for to be the high leverage guy beside Diaz. He was going to be in save situations, and now
right.
I don't think you can use him anything but mop up at this point, and really got to hope that something clicks for him, because I think you have to face it, with him and Stanek not pitching well, the Mets are probably not going to go past winning one series. You can't do it with having 2 guys who are supposed to be high leverage guys in the bullpen just pitching very poorly. So
yeah, if you want to go on just like vibes alone, this definitely has like a one and done vibe to it. But for those who want to actually look at, like, baseball, it's not X's and O's, but football started today. Thanks a lot, Jets. I'm extra mad because of that. So shout out to them. But if you want to just look at the actual baseball reasons, like, most of your rotation is guys who have absolutely zero experience whatsoever. And there's going to be ups and downs, and it's not their fault. They've been put in a very difficult situation. I think all 3 of them are handling themselves very well. You have a bunch of veteran starters who can't even give you 6 innings. This past week, the Mets got 3 starts of 6 innings. It was all the rookies. It was none of the old guys. That's a problem. And that keeps going on. And then to your point about the bullpen, you have one trustworthy reliever who throws more than 82 miles an hour. Tyler Rogers is good. I appreciate him. He's also, like, you can get a bunch of bloops against him and, like, score on him that way. We've seen that a couple of times. And you kind of prefer a swing and miss guy in those high leverage situations. Like, I think Tyler Rogers is a great, like, 7th inning guy, but putting him in the 8th, it does change the calculus of things. That's why they got a Helsley, so that you could structure it that way. To your point, it just hasn't worked out. We had Trevor May on last week, who actually took us through, like, this full breakdown of Helsley with the tipping pitches and everything. And it was super interesting, but he hasn't fixed it. He's changed his full hand placement and wind up and delivery, and he's, at least from what we saw, it looks like he's still tipping. He's just doing it in a different way, and that showed up on Wednesday against the Tigers, where he got bombed, and he has not appeared in a game since then. All 3 Mets games that they played over the weekend in Cincinnati were all close games, so obviously you couldn't go to him. But there's not that much time left for him to figure it out, and there's not going to be many opportunities for him to do that, because this team plays a lot of close games. Like, there's only going to be so many blowout opportunities for him to come in and get himself together, which he hasn't been able to do.
Yeah, and I think, kind of to your point, one mentioned that Garrett did pitch today and looked pretty well. Him coming back is obviously, that's what they need. He's, the last couple of years, he's been really good to start the season. so good that Mendoza's kind of had to overuse him, and then he's had a rough stretch. And if he bounces back, that certainly gives them another option as a guy who has pitched in high leverage spots for them in the
Mhm.
last couple of years. So that gives them at least another potential option. But yeah, without if Helsley isn't going to give you essentially anything outside of mop up duty, then and Stanek is doing the same thing. He's having the same exact struggles. I mean, and they're actually pretty similar too, because you both have guys with a very good fastball velocity wise and a pretty good secondary pitch too, but they're not getting any whiffs with either of those pitches, and that's the big thing. I remember even the first couple of outings that Helsley had with the Mets, he actually he did fine the first couple of outings, but I remember seeing that he wasn't getting any whiffs on a fastball at 100 and 101. And he wasn't getting anyone to swing and miss at a slider either. I'm like, well, it's a good thing the Mets won those games, but this isn't going to look good long term, because it doesn't matter how hard you throw, you've got to get swings and misses this day and age. And that's just not, he's not getting it with either of his pitches. Neither is Stanek for that matter. So, I mean, again, he knows that he's tipping pitches. He's obviously working on it. We got to see if that changes. Maybe the last 3 days he's worked on something else, and hopefully the next time we see him, hopefully he's back to being a guy that strikes guys out and doesn't get a bunch of guys on base. So that's going to be one of the big things. I know we talked about the starting pitching, and so with their struggles, that just makes your bullpen look even worse, because the bullpen is pitching so often for the Mets,
Right.
especially when guys like Manaea, when Senga was in the rotation, even Peterson lately. We haven't mentioned Peterson, but that might be the biggest surprise slash kind of downfall recently is him, because he had been so good all year, and then all of a sudden he hit a wall at the worst time when your other veterans were hitting the wall. And I mean, that's a guy you just assumed was going to just keep rolling and give you 6 innings every start. And when that doesn't happen, now you're like, I think that's essentially why they've had to go to guys like Sproat and Tong, because after Senga and Manai, you thought you're going to be able to rely on Peterson too. And he just hasn't held up his end recently either.